I'm Geraci, and I'm a motion time-lapse cinematographer, and I use beautiful HDR imagery to help tell my stories. You've probably seen my work before and not even known it. My first introduction into HDR time-lapse photography was when I started working on the show House of Cards. When we were creating the intro, we actually had to shoot 3-frame bracketed HDR photos to create our HDR scene, whereas today you can do that just using 1 frame. Now, my workflow doesn't just revolve around photography, it also involves 8K raw video. My production company, District 7 Media, specializes not only in motion control photography, but also aerial cinematography and full-on video production. And we go all across the world producing content for many different brands and manufacturers. If you've ever shot indoors or had a window or a doorway that's just blown out, HDR is what can fix that. It'll actually go in and change the highlights so that you can actually see the material that's outside and you can balance daylight and interior light together. So that for me is a huge game changer. And when you shoot your HDR project, you want to make sure that you're following through the entire way of the process. So from start to finish, from shooting to post-production, you have to keep that HDR workflow. And when you bring it into the HDR workflow, what you'll be able to do is remove those highlights and up those shadows and smooth out the midtones so you can create a more balanced image. And that's what HDR is really all about. I got the opportunity to shoot in New York City, and we got access to this one rooftop that I didn't think we'd be able to get access to. And then looking down over the side, it just had this amazing view. We had like 4 corners of reflections, and that really made this really interesting and unique scene. And as we're working with the shot in post, I was able to pull out a lot of the midtones and shadows to really brighten it up. And because of the dynamic range that we had, we were able to create this really fun, robust, incredible image. And it's something I'm really proud of. Other systems that I've done HDR in, they've been slow, they have stuttered playback, but not with the Dell Precision Workstation, with the Quadro RTX. The biggest surprise for me was just how fast the playback was. When I first got the card, my jaw hit the floor because the graphics card that I was using previously couldn't even handle the workload. I was seeing maybe 1 or 2 frames per second, and now I can actually see up to, I think, 50 or 60 frames per second in full 8K raw, whether I'm in an HDR scene or a standard definition scene. So it's pretty impressive. The Dell Precision Workstation with the Quadro RTX have really helped my HDR workflow. I'm able to do everything more easily and more effectively, which honestly just makes me a happier editor. And who doesn't like a little happiness?